And good morning, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. So, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, or as some people like to call it, happy Friday Eve for this week. And next week is Thanksgiving. So, hopefully, everybody is getting prepared because we talked about on this show a mass blackout, as they like to say it. And good morning, Spud McKenzie from YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And so, let me know how you guys plan on spending Thanksgiving. Are you going to do Thanksgiving? Or are you going to do the blackout? And if you're going to participate in the blackout, people, well, I guess from the flyer that I showed, and Minnesota Vets, thank you so much for joining us on X and reposting the stream. Is from November 25th to December 2nd, no shopping, right? No going out. So be prepared. And when you do go shopping, try to make sure that you shop locally, right? Within your area. And if there are any Black businesses that you know of in the area, definitely make sure that you're supporting the Black businesses, but also, again, other local businesses in your area because that's what really keeps our economy going. I know a lot of the big box stores, they're out there, right? They're out there. But if we could take, 60% of that revenue and put it into the smaller businesses, just think about how many people that they could hire locally, right? To continue to develop that small business mentality because we need to get back to that. Just that one-on-one customer service, people in your community, and definitely vet the people that you are patronizing. And what I mean by that is, are they actually putting the dollars back into the community so that those dollars circulate before they go out of the community? So if you know that somebody is in your community, but they're taking the dollars out of your community, don't patronize them. That's what I'm saying. And so when we start making more of a conscious effort to make sure that, hey, we want to make sure that those dollars stay in our city, stay in our county. And when we're more intentional, we do better. And Colin Poll 6478 says, "Good morning. I'm the only one here." You're the only one here. I think hopefully there are a few more people because I am live on X, Facebook, and YouTube. So it might look like you're the only one there, but I think Spud McKenzie is in there with you. So at least I got two people on YouTube. But the way that changes is for you could share, like, and subscribe, and that'll put it into the algorithm. So other people that are looking for content like mine will, you know, join the show here, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And then I keep up the replay. I'm trying to keep it up a little bit longer, but not too long, so that I can continue to bring you more content. And so with that, we're going to get into our children's inspirational corner for this morning.
Foolish lion who thought he was the strongest and smartest animal in the forest. One day, he saw a clever rabbit and decided to catch him for dinner. The rabbit, being smart, had a plan. He told the lion that there was a bigger and stronger lion in the nearby forest. The foolish lion wanted to prove his strength, so he followed the rabbit. They reached a deep well, and the clever rabbit said the other lion lived inside. The foolish lion looked into the well and saw his own reflection. He roared angrily, but his reflection roared back. The foolish lion was scared and ran away, learning that sometimes pride and foolishness can bring trouble.
Yeah. Lessons to be learned. That pride and foolishness. Because we're seeing a lot of pride and foolishness with a lot of people, especially within our halls of Congress going on right now. So, hope you guys got a little bit out of that message. today from our Children's Corner. And next, we're going to go over how to honor God with our body. So, God, please guard our thoughts guard our mind. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So, I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, protect my ears. Help me to listen for your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please protect my mouth and help me to speak life. God, set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. God, please protect my reproductive organs and help me honor you, God, with my body. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect my feet. Help me to walk in your path. God, let your words be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. So I do hope that that short mantra slash prayer helps us really set the tone for this morning as we get into more of the news and articles that I'm going to share with you. Now, typically, I usually have videos, to show outside of the child's video, but this time there were just some videos that I wanted to share from my X feed. But before I get into that, just to pick up where we left off yesterday with Epstein, right? I just I wanted to know, like, how much information that they were able to gather maybe from his cell phone data, because they never talk a lot about that. There was, like, the files, and the list. I was like, we never talk about, like, what evidence did you even gather from his phone? Or, like, he was actually texting a delegate from the Virgin Islands, which is blown up so interestingly, we'll say that, during a committee hearing, right, where they were questioning Michael Cohen. And this person, this delegate, her name is Stacy, she keeps trying to distance herself, like, well, just because, I take phone calls. I was like, ma'am, you were really casual with this person, like super cash with this person. And you're making it seem like, oh, that was just some delegate. No, at that point in time, he had already been basically more than accused of sex trafficking young girls. He had been implicated, right? So the probe had been exposed, right? And you're sitting here acting like it, there's nothing to see here. Hmm. I just I find that, look, Congress, and it's fascinating what they're doing. But anyway, to any avail, I wanted to share this with you guys just to, like I said, I just wanted to know if any of the cell phone data had been retrieved, and it's like, yes, they were seized in the 2019 raid on his Manhattan townhouse. Now, this was during Trump's first administration. So, according to official evidence, inventory from the U.S. Department of Justice, agents collected at least two iPhones, a black iPhone, right, and a white Apple iPhone. These were cataloged as digital evidence alongside other items like hard drives and CDs, right? So they got all of his electronic devices. But here's the thing, it says, however, specific details about the phone's contents, like exact contents, remain sealed and unreleased. Because here's my thing, he did a lot of things over his cell phone. He talked to people over these electronic devices. So I'm like, were there videos? Um, who's in the phone, right? Who are the dignitaries in the phone? And see, those things have remained sealed or unreleased. And the question is, are these going to be a part of this big data dump that the DOJ is going to do? That's my question. Right. And it says a 2025 DOJ review of over 300,000 gigabytes of the Epstein files, including digital evidence, found no client list or blackmail material, but it confirmed the exhaustive analysis of seized devices without detailing individual items like the iPhones. Interesting. So it didn't really get into like we have his iPhones, we have the people that he contacted on these phones, but they've cherry picked certain things that they have released, like that communication between Stacey Plassett and Epstein while that happened during the confirmation hearing. And there's videos on that. I've even shown them on the show. But no public reports indicate the phones yielded groundbreaking evidence, but their seizure and processing confirm they were reviewed. Okay, so we know that they got the phones, but they still haven't released what was on the phones. And like I said, I find that interesting because I know there are more um likely than not, we'll just say that allegedly, there were probably some very prominent people on those phones. Even outside of videos, it's the contact that he had with people on those cell phones, both of them. And interesting that he had more than one phone. So I wonder if there was, the different contacts or content on those different phones. So that's going to be something to look out for once President Trump signs this. Just saying. I'm just saying. I'm like, look, if we're going to go in, let's go all in. Let's do this. you know, I kind of like it. I kind of like what we're doing and where we are going. But the next piece, should say the next article I would like to get into is the federal courts and this redistricting that they're going to be doing. Apparently, the federal courts they struck down the GOP redistricting in Texas, right? Saying it was racially motivated as a U.S. court in El Paso has ruled that Republican backed redistricting efforts for the 2026 midterms violated voting rights by prioritizing race, dealing a blow to the Trump's electoral strategy. Now, it's very interesting, and this is on NPR, right? Because I usually, well, and this is just my thing, the redistricting was based on how the voting went, right? Because a lot of the people, even though they were in blue cities, quote unquote, they voted majority for Republicans, right? Which would give the Republicans the ability to kind of shift what was going on. So I'm like, okay, all right, where is my story? I was like, where is my article? Oh, it's just got all these different articles. I'm like, where's my stuff? Sorry, you guys. I thought I had pulled this up. Nope. That's not it. It's not it. It's not it either. I guess I'm going to have to look this up. So thank you again for joining me. Oh, and Outlaw, thank you so much for joining. It says, good morning, founder. Good morning to you too. Outlaw Media, appreciate you. Let's see. Let's find it here. Let's see. Let's look up GOP redistricting and see. Oops, I think that was it. Yeah. Let's. Nope. 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 I'm like, nope, nope, nope. That's not it. Oh my goodness, you get here and the wonderful land of NPR, and it is on. Okay. Because I know it's been this is a pretty big deal if they're not able to do this. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, you guys. This is kind of big data dump. I'm like, all right, have to do this, not necessarily the hard way. I don't want to do it the Grok way because I was really trying to find an article on this because, like I said, it's kind of a big deal what's happening with the redistricting, especially in Texas, because a lot of people use um, Texas as the bellwether, right? They kind of use Texas as that, okay, if it happened in Texas, what's going to happen to the rest of the country, right? And it's kind of sad that we kind of live and breathe by one state, but this is where we're at. So here we go. Because again, I was, you know, I'm, I'm kind of a news hound, which is why I have my own show. Um, but I was listening to some individuals from Texas, and they just happened to be commentators, and they were saying how disappointed they were with the redistricting and knowing how Greg Abbott himself should know better than to make this racial, right? But it was kind of sad because at the same time they were like, yeah, he's kind of big, and if he decides to run again, he'll more than likely win. And I'm like, but you guys have so much evidence against him, right? And reasons to not put him back into office. But it was really crazy how they were just like, yeah, we're just going to have to wait it out. And I was like, wow, that's just kind of defeatist mentality. No, we have to fight. We have to fight for our freedoms. I'm just saying, come on. We got to fight. And if if the fight is for Texas, then I'm going to have Texas grow a spine and say, let's fight, right? So Texas GOP's redistricting setback raises questions for other redrawn maps. Okay. So a federal court's decision to block new GOP favored House map in Texas is raising questions over the fate of other redrawn maps around the country. So my question is, could this affect California? Because they've recently redrawn their maps too. And is that race based? Or is that actually based on geographic data of how people voted? We'll see. So, a panel of federal judges blocked Republicans' bid to use a new set of GOP favored congressional lines ahead of 2026, arguing it was a likely racial gerrymander. The case largely centered on a Justice Department letter taking issue with a handful of majority minority districts in the Lone Star State. Most of the legal challenges faced by other states that have undergone redistricting also revolve around race, but each case represents distinct issues. For this reason, it's difficult to predict how other newly drawn maps will fare in court. It's always fascinating to me how a lot of these political situations end up in court, and then not that the justices are legislating from the bench, but they're kind of drawn into the legislative process, and they shouldn't be. And that's just my opinion. It's like they shouldn't even be here. But because you guys can't actually get your work done and you have to have a referee involved, this is how the justices are drug into this, right? So all of these efforts come with uncertainty, said California Republican strategist Matt Rexroad, a critic of mid-decade redistricting. So I know people are like, well, why this and that? So redistricting typically takes place once we have a census, right? And that census will say, okay, you've got X amount of people. And sometimes they'll have to create new districts based on the amount of people that live there. And I know Marjorie Taylor Greene, I want to say earlier this year, she was trying to put forth a bill. I'm not sure how far it's gotten or if it's even, I know she introduced it. I'm not sure if it's gotten any traction, is where only those redistricting will only be based on American citizens, not for people that are here undocumented, green card, visas, any of those people, right? Unless you are naturalized or a born citizen, right, which makes you legal here in the United States, you wouldn't be counted, right? Yeah, that's where it gets sticky because see, people that are not legal, born, or naturalized are not supposed to be voting, but they've been allowed to vote in different states around the country, even in Texas, right? Because some of these people, they once they get an ID tacked to an address, they've been allowed to vote. Some people have been given a driver's license where they should not have gotten a driver's license, which again gives them, they've been added to the voting rolls and they've been allowed to vote, even though legally they should not be able to vote in any elections. Now, if the census holds true, right, which is actually how the redistricting happens, and in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, no redistricting of any drawn maps should happen until we have a census. It shouldn't happen between elections because it's convenient, right, for either side. It should only be determined once we have a proper census, which is every 10 years. Okay? Because, yeah, let's make it fair. Let's make it even. Stop cheating. Because to me, it's cheating. But the census should only include citizens, not non citizens. Because when you include people who are not actually citizens, it throws the whole map off. Right now, we have what in upwards of close to what 20, 30 million people that are here illegally, not legally, illegally. And a lot of people say, well, they don't make up a large percentage, but they make up enough of a percentage in very concentrated areas that can determine outcomes of elections, and they shouldn't. They also garner resources where they shouldn't because they're not here legally. And those resources aren't going to American citizens like it should. It's going to people here illegally. Remember, people kept saying, oh, you know, they're not getting SNAP benefits. They're not. Yes, they are. They are. And a lot of these mayors and governors were actually lauding the fact that they are sanctuary cities and that they're giving, their residents, not citizens, residents assistance. Yeah, I think this needs to be cleaned up before the next census. And there should be no redistricting until we have that next census. So the Texas ruling is rooted in a July 7th letter the state received from Hermit Dillion, hopefully I'm saying that right, a California lawyer whom President Trump tapped to lead his Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. DeLeon had gained prominence for championing conservative causes at the center of the culture wars and has now helped Trump remake the division. In a letter, DeLeon argued Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, to change the racial composition of the state's coalition districts, which refers to when multiple racial minorities as opposed to one combined to form a majority minority district. The congressional districts at issue are nothing more than vestiges of unconstitutional, racially based gerrymandering past, which must be abandoned and must be corrected by Texas. Okay. Because again, in Texas, unfortunately, just like California, they have a lot of people that are living there illegally and they're counting them as residents. And you would think, well, they have a Republican governor. Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem. How do you have a Republican governor and just blatant uh, illegals in your state? Yeah. So what that says a lot, because that means you're not handling your business, Mr. Abbott. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Just saying. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So, significant portions of the court's 160-page opinion are devoted to the letter that Georgia's ruled. It spurred the map Texas Republicans ultimately passed, acknowledging it may have survived had the Trump administration instead sent a letter focused on improving Republican performance. But nothing in the DOJ letter is couched in terms of partisan politics. The majority wrote the letter instead commands Texas to charge 4 districts for one reason and one reason alone: the racial demographics of the voters who live there. Yeah. So hopefully they'll be able to get past this. But, again, we'll see. We shall see. And with that, let's take a quick break. And thank you guys again for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we will see you on the other side.
All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, lean left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides uses many methodologies to determine bias, including the Blind Bias Survey, gathering people from all parts of the political bias spectrum and having them read and rate articles blindly, without telling them who wrote the article or which media outlet it came from. Then we take the average bias rating of several articles from a given media outlet for our final bias rating. Another powerful method we use is the editorial review. Focus groups of people with multiple political viewpoints who review the works of a media outlet and come to a consensus on its bias. We also look at credible third-party data, including academic research by top universities. Finally, what you say matters. We gather community feedback on our site every day, including hundreds of thousands of votes on our bias ratings. Our final bias ratings aren't determined by these votes, so they can't be gamed or falsified by any group. But we do analyze those votes for input and look for warning signs that our current bias ratings might be off. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
Good morning and welcome back to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And the next piece of, I should say the next article I want to get into, I don't even know if I can call it an article. I'm just kind of piecing together this information as I was going through and just doing some research. I really wanted to take a step back outside of the I won't call it regulated news media, but I'll just say, a lot of people, they'll be like, ooh, what's trending on X and what's trending here, what's trending there. So I did go through and I researched in Grok and I was like, well, what's important right now? Like what information maybe isn't being talked about that should be talked about, right? And I came up with this. Well, I should say Grok came up with it through my research. I said, give me some articles to talk about that'll really affect the United States. And one thing that it brought up was this, and I was really surprised about this. Okay. So the following list events for the 2025 United States, as well as predicted and scheduled events that have not yet occurred. So there is this group, it's called 5051. So 50501. Okay. And basically, following the election of Donald Trump last year, okay, the beginning of his term saw him extensively used executive orders and gave increased authority to Elon Musk through the Department of Government Efficiency, which they later termed Doge, right? Leading to mass layoffs of federal workers and attempts to eliminate agencies such as USAID. And a lot of people say USAID is gone. It's not gone. They still have about 250 employees, and they report directly to the Secretary of State. See, before USAID, they just did whatever they wanted to. And what they had found in actually auditing this agency is that they had over 14,000 employees. The money was just going to where they thought best, and they never had any oversight, and they had no reporting, right? So they didn't even have to report to Congress. Congress was like, hey, give me this information. And they were just like, we don't have to do anything you say. And they didn't. That was crazy, right? Only the president could really tell them what to do because it was put in place by an executive order. So it was never really law. They were never really legally bound as an agency. And they still live by executive order. That's why the president of the United States was to be able to fire everybody and change it. But either way, but I digress. So what I wanted to, bring that up is to say there were a lot of changes that happened in the beginning of the year. And what this did spread and divulge was you got like the No Kings movement, and then 5051 came out of that. So here's the website, and it's 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. And so you can see in a lot of these pictures that I have in the background says Trump is he's the enemy of the I don't know. It says I don't know if that's economy or whatever. Impeach the okay, and they have Trump's name here. Women's rights are human rights. Okay, so we can already tell who they don't support, right? And what they do support. Okay, so a lot of people here, in my opinion, they support depopulation. They don't want people born, right? They're okay with killing people off. They're okay with mutilating themselves so they can't reproduce. Okay. But that's what we have here. Now they also have a movement of from November 27th to December 1st says we ain't buying it, right? And No Kings is calling for America to stand with striking Starbucks workers. So they say they have a No Kings alliance. But I'm like, okay, you're kind of doing the same thing that No Kings is doing. On February 5th, I guess that's going into 2026, or maybe that happened this year. 5051 raised our voices. I hope I can't really look, I can't even see this myself. I'm like, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can all see this. But I wanted to raise awareness that there is another group out there, right? Very similar to No Kings. It says their protests were a decentralized, rapid response to the anti-democratic and illegal actions of the Trump administration and its plu plutocratic plu plu wow plutocratic. I had to break that one down. Allies. The idea of 50 protests in 50 states on one day was born on R5051 and spread rapidly on social media. In just days, grassroots organizers with any budget, centralized structure, or official backing pulled off over 80 peaceful protests in all 50 states. Since then, the protests have grown over successive days of action. So February 17th, March 4th, April 5th, April 19th, May 1st, June 14th, July 4th, July 17th, August 2nd, and October 18th. The movement has mobilized millions of people and brought together a growing network of organizers and organizations, both new and established. Our movement shows the world that the American working class will not sit by as oh, plutocrats rip apart our democratic institutions and civil liberties with undermining the rule of law. Like, I need to look this up because I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I'm sorry. I gotta research this, y'all. I'm like, what are you talking about? What? Okay, let's see. Define. Yeah, guys, this is how I do some of my research because I was like, this looks weird. Okay, someone who exercises power by virtue of wealth. What? Oh my goodness. So that means if wealth is defined by what you have, you exercise your power or virtue of wealth. Someone who exercises power by virtue of wealth. Wow, mm, that's telling. Because a lot of people who may not have, who may be in a certain, you know, I guess, demographic financially, they are exercising power by virtue of their wealth. Okay. Uh, plutocracy. Okay. All right. Plutocracy is a society that is ruled or controlled by people of great wealth or income. It can be considered a specific form of oligarchy, okay, where the ruling few are wealthy. The first known use of the term in English dates back to 1631. It is not rooted in any established political philosophy. Okay, so this is their philosophy that they're going by. Because I had to look that up. I'm like, what are you talking about? And what's hilarious about this to me is a lot of the people that they support are getting rich off the backs of the American people. So what are we talking about? What is it? So are you going to disavow most of the Democratic and Republican Party? Because they're right now in Congress, you know, insider trading and writing legislation to benefit them so they can make more money. So what are we talking about? Because they're definitely throwing their weight around on both sides. I'm not absolving any either party. They're all involved in this. If that's your rationale for what you're doing, this always comes back to bite people in the butt. Because who are we talking about? Who are we really talking about? Really? By virtue of wealth? Okay, I can bring up a few people. I mean, everybody likes to go to Nancy Pelosi, but there are other people that have benefited far beyond her. Far beyond her. Okay. So we can't we can't point fingers like that. I mean, we can, but that's just weird. Just assuming that because people have money that they're going to use their power in a negative way. That's all I'm saying. And that's your assumption that that's what's happening. But this is the mentality of these people. They say as plutocrats rip apart their democratic institutions and civil liberties while undermining the rule of law. So who are we talking about? I know you're trying to put all of this on Donald Trump, but you can't. Because then your argument is failing. Because a lot of the people that you support, if you're supporting them, are in the wealthy class. And they just so happen to be members of Congress on both sides. So you can't just point at the Republicans because you're mad, because you would also have to point at the Democrats that are doing the same thing. And that's when I just throw out that term that a lot of the Democrats were using while Vice President Harris was running for president. Y'all are just weird. And look at the map. Like, what are we doing? Is anybody going here for this? I don't know if you guys can really see this brightly, but the rainbow belongs to God. God gave it to us as a sign that he would no longer destroy the earth with water. And you tried to capture it, so to speak. and use it for degenerate behavior. Yes, it's degenerate behavior. Your sexuality has nothing to do with anything. What you decide to do behind closed doors is your business. It's nobody else's business. And stop trying to get us to buy into it. Stop trying to get us to um, be okay with it. I don't care what you do as an adult behind closed doors. Leave babies alone. If you decide that that's what you want to do, that's fine. But I don't have to agree with it. Just like you don't agree with heterosexuals. You know what I'm saying? You've decided you want to do a different thing. Okay, do that behind closed doors. But stop trying to use things that belong to God to support your degenerate behavior. And I'm going to call it degenerate. You can call mine degenerate. I don't care. Leave it alone. Stop trying to get us to accept something sexual when God made it as a sign that he would no longer destroy the earth with water. But yes, this is the 50 states, 50 protests in one day. So if you guys hear about 5051, this is them. Okay? This is what they're doing, and they're calling for the whole Starbucks ban. But this is interesting because we I had gotten something earlier and it was called blackout. But now they're also participating, right? Pause this. So we ain't buying it. Pause on shopping from major companies that are enabling this administration. They're enabling the administration. Interesting. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Like, I'm just saying, we were doing the blackout, just in our household because, they have Black Friday every year. They do this all the time. And my whole thing is we need to intentionally buy small to support our local economies. Oh, sincerely, Lawless, thank you for joining us this morning. Our hostess in the stream. She says, good morning, founder, and good morning to you too. So, this Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, let's make our dollars count. We're asking Americans to hit pause on shopping from major corporations. Okay, well, I guess this is something that we agree on. But my whole thing is don't do it just between what do they call it, Black Friday and December. We're trying it from December 25th to December 2nd. There's a December 7th to December 1st. I'm like, no, instead of just doing it now, just make it a lifestyle, right? Make it permanent because the big box stores do not care. And you think they're the only ones that are enabling the administration? Really? I don't think so. They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. Hmm. But, maybe this might get the attention. Also, we're looking at Target, Amazon, Home Depot. Okay. Full blackout. Don't buy anything from Target, Amazon, Home Depot stores during this week. Use the time and money to connect with those you love and rediscover what matters. Okay, so for some of us, I'm just saying buy local. For those of us in the Black community, let's circulate our dollars within the Black community and make sure that those people live in the community that you live in so those dollars are circulated, right? Redirect spending, skip the companies undermining democracy. Just we live in a republic. Hilarious. Shop small, local, or with businesses affirming our humanity. No, we're not doing that. See, that's always hilarious. Affirming. Stop that. No. Shop with businesses that are local, that support your community, and the people that live in your community. And join the music pledge to be a conscious consumer, amplify, spread the word, share the message in conversation and online. Okay, so they have their whole toolkit, but here's some of the places that they're focused on avoiding. Now, see, I would avoid Home Depot because, they support illegal immigration. Look, y- they've allowed day laborers for years, and they know those people are here illegally. With Amazon, right? They're just a behemoth within themselves. Okay, we're going to avoid Amazon. Target, another big box store. But amazingly enough, and interestingly enough, why isn't Walmart on here? I mean, I'm sure Walmart's part of it. But why are you really just focused on these? They said this action is direct aim at Target for caving to the administration's biased attacks on DEI. Okay. I always, wow. I, mm, because Target said that they weren't going to do it. They weren't going to do DEI anymore. So Home Depot for following and colluding with ICE. What? They're not colluding with ICE. People just know they're there because they've been there. Oh, oh, weird. Um, to kidnap our neighbors on their properties. Stop that. Nobody's being kidnapped. A lot of those people that are being that you say are being kidnapped, they actually have deportation orders that they did not abide by and avoided. There are people that have been lived here illegally for over 20 years and are proud of it. Okay, I don't want to hear that. And Amazon for funding this administration to secure their own corporate tax cuts. Oh, yeah, it's about business. Okay. Yes, Jeff Bezos was there with bells on at the inauguration, like, I will do whatever you say, sir, because I want to keep my tax cuts so I can continue to make billions of dollars every year. Yes, about business at the end of the day. They are not thinking about you guys. Not like that. Let's keep it buck. Let's keep it 100. But let's talk about all the small businesses that have actually used Amazon as a come up. Because we have to remember, Amazon is nothing more than a large aggregate search engine. It's basically like Google for people who own businesses. That's all Amazon is. Amazon is not a grocery store. They bought Whole Foods, right? So people could still buy because Whole Foods was basically going under and it saved Whole Foods, by the way. Anybody listening? But Amazon has actually created people who've been able to make millions of dollars as small businesses using that search engine because that's all Amazon is. Now they got into Prime and they have, what is it, Kindle and Amazon Music. And so they've, you know, well, I said broaden their portfolio to make more money. But at the end of the day, all it is another Google for shopping. Amazon just makes a portion of the money. They're just facilitating. That's all they are, is a facilitator. And they've made money being the middleman. Okay, if you don't like Amazon, make another one. But this isn't why they don't like Amazon. Let's find out why they really want to get into these companies. So Target, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Because look, oh, it's like, come on. I know. I'm like, I need to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it too. So for Target, Target has rolled back their DEI initiatives, which included ending programs that help Black employees advance cutting financial support for Black-owned businesses and removing LGBTQ products from their stores. So that's why y'all are mad? That's why y'all are mad. You're not mad because Target's making money. You're mad because it's just going after Black people. Stop using us as your emotional support pets. Progressives, by the way. DEI never helped Black people. It actually helped other people in other races. You just use Black people for it. So let's just clear the air on that one. And removing LGBTQ products from their stores. Yeah, because you were gearing that stuff towards children. What is wrong with you? Out in the open, yeah, Target started losing a whole bunch of money because people were like, we're not going to subscribe to degenerate behavior being subscribed on our children. Yeah. I'm doing the blackout too, but see, I have been shopping at Target for a long time because beyond that, there were other things that they were doing that I just really didn't like. So I was like, you know what? I'm not messing around with Target. I'm out. Now, Amazon holds a monopolistic position in the market, contributes to dangerous working conditions for its employees and drivers, and CEO Jeff Bezos has donated over 1 million to this administration. Yes, he has. He sure has, because he's trying to stay in good graces. So he keeps his tax cuts so he can continue to kind of own the postal industry, because he does use the United States Post Office and they get huge breaks on postage, okay, by doing this. They've had that bulk partnership for a long time. But again, like I said, Amazon is basically a Google for sellers. That's all it is. That's really all it is. People utilize Amazon to make money. And Jeff Bezos gets a piece of that. And it just so happens it's one of the main sources that people go to find sellers for products that they want. You don't like what Jeff Bezos, you don't like Amazon? Make your own. Make your own. Find people that subscribe to whatever you're doing and make your own quote unquote Amazon and build it up. That's all he did. He found a niche, and the niche was, oh, people just want a place to source what they want and find the best price for what they want. The problem is some of the lowest price things that you find on there are aggregated from overseas, right? And they do sometimes will have the lowest prices on Amazon, and that's who you're buying from. And they've kind of gotten around that by basically having some of their warehouses here in the United States, and they procure that within Amazon. So they're still selling it the cheapest, and you're getting it from the warehouse here, even though it's from overseas. And a lot of people, actually, Americans, have made millions of dollars and become millionaires by sourcing and utilizing suppliers from China, repackaging it, and selling it here in the United States. Yeah, it's business. Okay. Again, if you don't like Amazon, fine, make your own or just go direct. But dangerous working conditions, well, they're getting rid of that. Trust me, they're trying to figure out all the robotics. So all of those people that don't want to work at Amazon, that's fine. You're going to be replaced by robots pretty soon. So y'all going to have to figure out something else to do. Logistics workers. And trust me, there's more work that's going to be coming to the United States. So I suggest you bone up on, technology in all aspects and trades, which, robots can't do yet. Figure it out. Stop complaining. Stop whining. Because, if you're looking for any sympathy, you've come to the wrong location. I'm not here for that. Sorry. Now with Home Depot is allowing ICE agents to illegally detain and kidnap laborers from their stores. The laborers in our communities are not able to look for work safely. Well, guess what? They're here illegally, and they shouldn't be able to look for work safely. They need to be deported. So at the end, if for me, what I'm looking at here is you support illegal, degenerate activity. You are not about actually wanting people to be successful. Okay. You can't have success supporting illegal activity. You got to let it go. Now, a lot of times people like this will say, well, the Trump administration, they're doing all these things illegally. Point it out to me. Please point it out. What are they doing that is so illegal? And then you want to get up in your feelings. You want to divert from the conversation. It's silly. Stop it. Business is business. Get out of your feelings. The illegal hiring has hurt Americans for a long, long time. And it's going to continue to hurt, especially the Black community, because that's where a lot of these people are dumped. And I'm not saying that facetiously. They are literally dumped into predominantly Black communities until they are able to create a majority minority and take over that community, and Black people move. I've lived it. It's what they do. So progressives, stop it. You are a cancer on this United States. That's what I'm officially naming you. You're a cancer. You don't care about freedom. You just care about virtue signaling. Period. That's where I'm at with you. Yep, you care about virtue signaling. You care about just looking good for the cameras and crying and, oh my goodness, I can't believe that they've done this to these people. Stop it. Everybody's exhausted and they're tired. And they just want to take care of their kids safely, right? And they do not want our country infested with people who are here illegally, who do not have any regard for the law, who do not have any regard for our Constitution or our country, because they came here illegally and people accepted them and have been fighting for them. Yeah. You've created a class of people who don't care about this country. And now it's on. Now it's just on. Okay? Now we're in the middle of a civil war that we didn't even start. But this again is a part of the 2020 replacement migration put in place by the United Nations. And here we are. We're living it. It's no longer coming, it's here. And it's been here for a long time. And now we're finally waking up and seeing it like the boiling frog. Yeah, the water's boiling. You're going to jump out of the pot, or you're just going to sit and roll over. Yeah, the fight's on. It truly, truly is. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to just get into some more news articles that I found on X, and then we'll check out all sides. But if there are any men in the audience that would like to come up today to join me here live, it's open mic for Mighty Men Thursday. So again, thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we will see you on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bytes can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source, because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so now let's get into some news that I have on X. Let me see if I do this correctly. There we go. Got to make sure the audio's on. Okay. Because what I didn't realize when I initially started doing this is that I needed to make sure this button was clicked so that I could actually share news with you guys. So, what you're looking at now is a post from Representative Ilhan Omar, and she says the Pedophile Protection Party tried everything to keep the Epstein files from coming out. That's why we needed to pass a discharge petition to get a vote on the House floor to get the truth out because GOP leadership refused to act. It's time for answers and transparency. Well, what everybody keeps pointing out is so fascinating. From 2021 to 25, the Democrats were not fighting to get the Epstein files released. Not at all. And if Trump was in the files, why weren't y'all pushing for this then? You had the House, you had the Senate, you had the executive branch. You had all three branches. Like you keep, pointing out the GOP has. All three branches, get it done. Okay. But you did nothing. You sat on it. And there were even three Democratic judges that tried to block this, citing innocence. People are innocent. We got to block them. We can't release this. Not to poke at Pam Bondi, but she's crying the same thing. Is it the people that are innocent that you're trying to protect, or is it the pedophiles that you're trying to protect? Because I find it really fascinating that this representative here is decrying pedophilia when it happens a lot in the Islamic culture. It's a part of their practice, actually. It's disgusting. Yeah. You need to look in your own backyard before you start poking and calling people out. See, I'm going to call them all out. And that thing that she's wearing, the hijab, that needs to be outlawed in our country, federal and state level. And I don't want to hear, oh, it's for religious purposes. No, it's not. No, it's not. Stop hiding behind religion for your degenerate behavior. That is a sign of being conquered. We're not doing that here in the United States. And I'm calling on the Trump administration, and I'm calling for members of Congress with a spine to say that thing that she's wearing is outlawed. The beekeeper suits, and I saw one in the flesh. I live here in Georgia, and I saw somebody wearing that, and I just looked, and I was just like, no, no. Anybody dressed like that, you need to be deported with your baby and never be allowed to come back in this country. If you want to do that, go to the country that's doing that and allows that and is okay with that. We're not going to be okay with that anymore here. Now, I might get a lot of backlash for putting this out there, but I'm going to put it out there. Take that degenerate behavior, and it is degenerate, and we're not falling for it. Oh, it's just my religious practice. No. Get a wig. I wear them all the time. I think they're great. If you want to cover, okay? Or get off the soil, because that's not what we're doing here. And I'll get into some other degenerate behavior that we have here in the United States that we just have to take care of, because we are definitely over sexualized in every area, from infancy up to, whatever. Get it together. Get your purity together, right? That's another conversation. But this conquering situation here, this person, yeah, that should never be allowed in the halls of Congress or anywhere on the soil, ever, anywhere. But let's hear what she has to say.
Tom Emmer has been a huge part of what I call the pedophile protection party. They've done every single thing possible to make sure that these files on Epstein were not going to be released.
Yeah, they did everything possible. Okay, so did your party. All right, now we're going to get into Plaskett. Okay, this is one I was talking about earlier. And yeah, let's hear what she has to say. Let's take it back.
No, I heard recently from someone that I was seeking advice from him. Let me tell you something. I don't need to get advice on how to question anybody from any individual.
This exchange, Mr. Epstein sent a text message to the gentlelady from the Virgin Islands. He brings up Rona, keeper of the secrets. And who's he referring to? Rona Graff. That's a Trump assistant. And Plaskett responds, Rona, question mark? Quick, I'm up next. Is that an acronym? So she wants to know what Mr. Epstein wants her to talk about. Don't you find that interesting? I find that really intriguing, especially since we know what Mr. Epstein was. And Epstein responds, that's his assistant. Doesn't really say much more than that. And then Plaskett starts questioning Mr. Cohen and asks about Graff. So not only was she texting, having this communication with Mr. Epstein, she's asking Mr. Cohen what Mr. Epstein wants her to ask. Another text says from Epstein, good work.
Yeah, good work. But she was saying it with her whole chest. I don't need any advice from anybody. Really, ma'am? I mean, they are going in full bore, 10,000%. It's just crazy looking. All right. Now we have Mr. Raskin. Hold on one second, you guys. I got to sneeze. I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, it happened. Ugh. Sorry. So Nina Turner, this is from her response to something else. She says, the American people are tired of this type of blind partisanship. Some things cannot and should not be defended. What? What? Thank you, Miss Nina. Oh my goodness. So Jamie Raskin defends Virgin Islands delegate Stacey Plaskett for texting with Jeffrey Epstein, saying she took a phone call from one of her constituents. Now he's a constituent. Make up your mind. Pick a lane. He's either a pedophile or he's a constituent. What is it? He's either a convicted felon or he's a constituent. What is it? Because see, at the time, he had already been outed for sexual assault against minors. At that time, that she was texting him. At that time, that she was questioning Michael Cohen. At that time. So what is it? Constituent or confirmed pedophile? Like what are we talking about? But Mr. Raskin, I'm telling you, attorneys are really interesting. The spin on this, the spin, you guys.
Now they want to take a former United States prosecutor, the representative of the people of the Virgin Islands, and without even going to the ethics committee, much less a court, they want to arraign her on some charges based on a newspaper article that she did something lawful. However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents.
Now, wait a minute. He said that you heard him throw in maybe as ill-advised. Why would it be ill-advised, sir? Why are you throwing that in there? As ill-advised as it has been, a news article, she was literally texting this person. This isn't hearsay. She did it. It's confirmed. But that's why I brought up the cell phone records. I'm like, so y'all are cherry picking these cell phone records. Who else was he talking to? Right? Because there was also another quote unquote exchange between Epstein and somebody else that was trying to pinpoint Trump at the time when he was in Mar-a-Lago for Thanksgiving in 2017, associating him being in proximity of Epstein. So they were both in Florida at the same time, in South Palm Beach at the same time, but they weren't together at the same table. But people are trying to make that juxtaposement. So you've got the records, but you're not releasing everything yet. And see, that's what I want. I want to see like what else is in there. Y'all didn't cherry pick this, but now it's backfired on you. Now you're sitting there going, even if it was ill advised, it wasn't ill advised. He had her phone number. He sent her a text message and she responded. It wasn't like she had him blocked. It wasn't like this was her assistant's phone. It was her direct phone. What? See, it's this stuff. It's this stuff. I'm like, really? Stop it.
I don't think it is the position of the very distinguished gentleman that if we find Jeffrey Epstein on the phone with Donald Trump, he should be impeached for it? Or is that his position? Is his position that anytime Jeffrey Epstein got somebody on the phone and he got a lot of people on the phone, that person is suddenly guilty? That sounds like guilt by association. That sounds like collective guilt. Now they want to take.
But that's what you guys all have. That is exactly what you are doing. That's exactly what you've been doing, Mr. Raskin, with Trump. Because you said before this person was arrested for assault against children, he was hanging around with him at all these parties. What did he know? Blah, 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 blah. Trump went to the FBI. That's why Epstein hated him. Okay? Or didn't like him. We'll just say he didn't like him. Because he was messing with his money. He was messing with the people that he was trying to, get blackmail on. He was messing up his game. Trump messed up his game. But then you guys gave Trump death by 1,000 cuts by association. You've been trying to entangle Trump into Epstein's world, and everything that you keep finding out are other people that are entangled in his world that are a part of both parties. By the way, they're Democrat and Republican Party. And then I came across something else, and I want to look this up. If you guys would indulge me for a moment, I want to say, are there two donated? Oops. Because somebody brought this up. Apparently, there are two Epsteins. And some of the donors, right, are being, I should say, not intermingled, but they both donated to the political campaign. So yes, there is evidence of at least two individuals named Jeffrey Epstein who have made political donations to U.S. politicians, though a vast majority of high-profile scrutiny has focused on the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Edward Epstein, who died, in 2019. The other appears to be a separate, unrelated person with the same common name, whose contributions have occasionally led to public confusion or misattribution in media reports, right? So we know the financier, we know that he donated $139,000. That was that Epstein, right? The convicted pedophile that everybody keeps referring to. Now, the other Epstein, right? Likely a different individual, a separate one, possibly a New York-based real estate professional, has made smaller, more recent donations that have been conflated with the financier in some coverage. This distinction emerged prominently apparently in a November 19th, 2025 exchange during a House hearing where Representative Jasmine Crockett referenced donations from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein to highlight Republican ties. And, the coverage that I did yesterday, I was like, yeah, there were Republicans that took money. W took money from him. There were some other prominent members of Congress that took money from the convicted pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, not this Jeffrey Epstein. And that's why she put somebody. Because, see, what it does is it absolves her of guilt. And she knows what she's doing because she's an attorney. And she knows she can conflate all of these things on the House floor because under the speech and debate clause, she's not going to be held liable. And that's the disgusting part about some of these attorneys being in our Congress, because they know how to lie to the American public and they know they can. That's the disgusting part about some of these politicians that we have in office. And that's the things that I talk about on my show because I want you guys to be informed. That's what she said, somebody. Yeah. Because in case she's wrong, or in case somebody comes after her for defamation, she'll be like, oh, speech and debate clause. Speech and debate clause. Yeah. Interesting, right? So recipient Representative Lee Zeldin, a Republican in New York, a Trump ally and 2022 gubernatorial candidate, that's somebody that you brought up, an amount and timing 1,000 in 2018 to the Zedlin's congressional campaign and 3,300 in 2021. Well, that would be interesting because he was dead. He kind of died in 2019. He kind of died. He kind of suicided himself. He wasn't alive during that time. I guess we weren't looking at timelines. So Zeldin's response, he clarified that this was not the financier, stating the donor was a local supporter uninvolved in Epstein's scandals. Zeldin emphasized no personal ties to the sex offender and noted the contributions were publicly reported and no red flags at that time. Okay. The Epstein's giving appears limited to Republican causes, contrasting the financier's Democratic lean, right? The name overlap likely stems from Jeffrey Epstein, right? Being a relatively common name. Multiple LinkedIn profiles exist for professionals in finance and real estate. No evidence links this donor to crimes or the financier's work. But again, if people come after her, she will cry speech and debate clause. She will cry all kinds of stuff because all she's trying to get out there is a talking point. But when people go back and they look at the timeline, they're going to be like, wait a minute. If he died in 2019, how was he able to give him money in 2021? But she'll go back to the $1,000 in 2018. Even though that at that time, he was prepped to be put in a prison. So I don't know if his assets were even available to be, if he could access his capital to make donations, right? You got to do your research. I find some of this stuff interesting and fascinating and wow, just the cojones. I'm not going to go over this because this is something I want to look more into because it's very sad. What happened apparently, there was a woman and her children and they were corralled in Chicago by some young people, and that's all I have to say about it. I want to look more into it before I get into it because sometimes when these things flush out after public outcry, you find out that there was a lot of other things going on underneath. That's all I have to say to that. Now, I want to look and turn to Hakeem Jeffries, still on the Epstein thing, right? Apparently, Hakeem Jeffries, he is, he's on the Epstein email, which I did review with you guys. He says, I have no recollection of the email. I never met him, know nothing about him. So this was 2013 when this alleged email occurred. 2013. So just know in 2011, some of his information was released and it was out there in the public ether. Okay. Because the FBI had outed him as someone who was sex trafficking and he had pedophilia ties. Okay. In 2011. So 2013, he's still out walking the street, right? He still has access to his finances. 2013. And he is bankrolling, not completely, but he's, up to $139,000. He's donated to the Republican and Democratic Party. Okay. Individuals in both parties. Because that's what people do when they want to access power and have congressional members on their side. This is what corporations do. This is what people of prominence do when they want to basically have an inside tracker vote. They will bankroll these congressmen and women who will do their bidding. Okay. And in my opinion, nobody in Congress should ever get any money from anybody. It should just be able to run. You're like, well, how can they do that? Well, stop expecting them to spend millions of dollars on advertising. Advertising should go back to what it used to be. Because, see, I used to work in advertising, and we would call them politicals. And politicals actually were only about a third of the normal rate of an actual spot. So let's say a spot's $100 regularly. Someone who was a politician or running a political ad, they only had to pay $33 for that spot, right? They charged them at a different rate because at that time, it wasn't about how many ads you had on the air. It was about, okay, you're only allowed so much airtime. Where are you going to use it to get your voice out to the masses, right? Because that was pre-social media. They didn't have Facebook at that time. They just had billboards and radio and television. Those were the largest mediums, right, to get your word out there. And then, of course, door knocking and, rallies like they still do today. But then somebody was like, wait a minute, we can make actual money off these politicians. Psh, forget that 33%. They've got to pay 100%. Actually, you know what? We'll charge even more. Because a lot of these politicians started getting bankrolled. Political action committees, right? Bigger financiers who could donate on larger amounts. They started using things like Act Blue. Okay. And I say like Act Blue, before Act Blue, they were able to basically flood the zone, what they call dark money, right? Where you don't even have to divulge who's supporting you. And these people are bankrolling your campaigns. Those are the people that you're answering to. Those are the people who are buying your vote in Congress. We need to dial this back, because people that are in Congress are not there to support the American people. They're there to support themselves. And it's something that we need to say enough. Enough. But let's get to Mr. Jeffries.
In a bipartisan way.
Well, let me ask you about you, because the White House has been highlighting an email that I'm sure you've seen today that Jeffrey Epstein got in 2013. They say it shows you were soliciting money and dinner from an Epstein. The email was not sent from you. It was sent from a political consulting firm called Dynamic SRG that says, we are thrilled to announce we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Shoot us an email or give us a call if you would like to get involved. What's your response? Do you recall that email being sent to Jeffrey Epstein from that team?
Yeah, of course, I have no recollection of the email. I've never had a conversation with him, never met him, know nothing about him other than the extreme things that he's been convicted of doing. And that's why, I'm just strongly supportive of the effort, backing the survivors to make sure that everything can come out, whatever is in those Department of Justice files.
So you never got a donation from Jeffrey Epstein or anything like that?
Certainly not
And just
in a bipartisan way.
well, let me ask you about.
He actually did, and he didn't return it. I'll put allegedly on there so I don't get in trouble. Allegedly, he did get a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. And the event that they're talking about happened in 2013, and Barack Obama actually happened to be there as well to support Hakeem Jeffries in his run for the House of Representatives. 2013. Yeah, up and rising star. This dude. Like, all this stuff is going to come back to bite them in the butt. And see, with him, he can't claim speech and debate clause on this because he's actually on CNN, which is a media outlet. There's some places where they can't claim speech and debate. Like, a lot of these people just need to go to prison. Just go to jail or leave office, because this is an embarrassment. Like this, I think, I don't know. Let me guys know in the chat. Is this one of the few times that you feel embarrassed by our representatives in office? It's embarrassing. It's truly sad what has occurred in our country with some of these representatives. Now, this one I came across, and I thought this one was fascinating because this gentleman, he's talking about ICE has got to calm down because it scared off the foreign workers. Yeah, just a bit. So he does installations. And Mrs. Evans at 916 says, hire Americans, guarantee your delivery times, and make sure you pay them what you paid your illegals in cash daily. It'd be your own people. Yeah. That's what we need to start doing. So I suggest, just my suggestion, if anybody is out there looking for work and they have, some construction skills or even not, go to Home Depot, because guess what? They're still looking for day laborers. They are still looking for people to put to work. Go there, American citizens. And then what you can do is reinvest that money in yourselves and get your licensing and get your certifications in electrician, carpentry, plumbing, all those trades. Because then you could be the one actually facilitating other workers where you're kind of, almost like an Apple One for day laborers. Like, do that for Americans, so that those that may not have those trades and skills can get those trades and skills on work sites. And guess what? With Americans, they already speak English. So there's no language barrier. And guess what? There are Americans that are out there that will work their butts off. They just need to be given the opportunity. That's all. That's all it is. But let's check this out.
Yo, this is a message to ICE, man. Yeah, I gotta stop, man. Damn, Hispanics don't even want to come to work, man. Now y'all fucking with my bread. Y'all fucking with my bread. Now it's my cheese, man. Look at this. This is the quietest I ever seen a work site on a damn Tuesday. No nails, no hammers, no screws, no banging. Like, come on, take a walk with me. Look at this. By the way, I'm an appliance installer. We gotta drop our appliances off, right? We supposed to install them and we make commission off installations. Only thing we get to install is this. And that ain't no damn money. But wait, it's not fully installed because no outlets, no countertops, no trim for the gas line, and again, no outlet. Word to me, now y'all playing with my damn bread. Shit. Like ain't nothing done. Leave them alone. What? Yo, this is a message that
there's nothing done. Leave them alone. No, this should be like the poster child advertisement for, hey, Americans, ICE is doing their job. You can now apply and get work at these job sites. Let's go. Right? A simple plug. Let's go. Let's get this done. There is opportunity now around every corner. And see, even though it looks like grunge work, a lot of these people are making upwards 6 figures being electricians, wiring the house, where you're not necessarily doing the labor part of the wiring, you're doing the labor part of actually just installing the outlets. And that comes hourly. They make decent money. Like I said, almost in upwards of 6 figures. They make like, I would say close to like $50, $60 an hour, maybe. So they're making good money. But again, they need people to continue to build these houses because see, right now, the housing prices are definitely out of control. They're talking about 50-year mortgages because we have more people than houses. Again, when there's more demand than supply, the housing prices go up. But if there's more supply than demand, those housing prices go down because they want to fill those slots. We need to get people off the soil that don't belong here, that are here illegally, that are disproportionately messing up our economy. They need to go back to their places of origin and figure it out. They're just coming here for a better life. They even need to figure out a better life in their hometown because they didn't come here legally or properly. And then they wanted to have a whole bunch of babies and live off of welfare. And you want to call Black people welfare queens. Stop it. Stop it. I'm just going to call people what they are, freeloaders and criminals coming over here and getting on welfare. You are freeloaders and you are criminals. And the people facilitating that are even worse criminals because they know you shouldn't even be getting those resources. Just saying. I'm going to keep it 100 and call it what it is. Horrible. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to, get into some news from all sides. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. We will see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased news doesn't exist. To get more clicks and make more money, media outlets often report news with a left, right, or sensational slant, either to suit their own agenda or because by telling us what we want to hear, we'll come back for more. Several news outlets in the center do a good job of portraying both sides equitably, but for the most part, American news media is biased. Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. The key is to get multiple perspectives. But making matters worse, social media and internet search results are heavily filtered, showing us the most popular opinion or results that match our preferences and make us happy. That means we're all living in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to viewpoints we already agree with, making us less informed and less tolerant of different people and ideas. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And we're going to get into some All Sides. And again, thank you for joining me here. So let's get into it. Let me share my screen again. I always forget. So I'm like, if I share a particular window, I have to go back in and bring it down and bring it back up. Guys, it's me. It's like I'm the producer and the host and just look. At least my camera hasn't fallen. And that has happened before on my show. So let's get into some of this news. So this one, it says new info emerges on attempted Trump assassin Thomas Crook's online presence. So I think this was the assassination in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. Just kind of reading through. But yeah, this was the one in Butler, Pennsylvania, because I was like, there's been many attempts on his life. I think there was like one in Florida after this, and then yeah, there was like stuff that we don't even know about, because when people get to a certain level and the rhetoric, unfortunately, is at the fever pitch that it has been for a long, long time, people get death threats, right? They see Trump as enemy number one that needs to be removed, and you know, it is what it is, unfortunately. So, a controversy surrounding the FBI's handling of the case of Thomas Crooks, the man who attempted to assassinate President Donald Trump in 2024, has sparked a media debate as emerging reports reveal more about Crooks' digital footprint, right? And so, we're talking about, basic social media, online presence, that whole thing. Okay, so on Monday, the New York Post that leans right bias reported sources who reviewed Crook's alleged online activity found 17 different accounts reportedly associated with Crooks. It described as a sustained pattern of violent posts, extremist comments, and political violence related searches, including threats and violent artwork attributed to his secret social media accounts. The Post also said these sources identified 2 possible deviant art profiles associated with Crooks, a platform known for having a notable furry community. Interesting. It noted the accounts were connected to Crooks through publicly available research tools, but the FBI has not confirmed the authenticity of the alleged profiles or the online activity. Another New York Post article quoted Congressman Mike Kelly, a Republican from Louisiana, who said the FBI had stonewalled investigators and never shared those files. Now, I'm wondering which FBI we're talking about, because at the time, that was a different FBI director, or is it the current FBI director? Now, a lot of people have not been very satisfied with the current FBI director because he had complaints about the previous director. He actually had worked in a previous FBI, right, under an FBI director. I'm not sure if he was in the last administration, but he was in the Obama administration, right? Complaining. This happened. But now he's acting crazier than the other person. So this always makes me wonder, and this is just me, and this is just alleged. When I look at Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, right, 2 people that had previously worked for the federal government. Dan Bongino, he used to be in Secret Service. Kash Patel, he worked for the FBI. They are now the current FBI director and assistant director. They haven't kept up with their quote unquote promises, right, to the American people. And I'm like, were they plants for Trump, right? Were they, and ride with me for a second, were they actually put in place to kind of speak to Trump's ego and do the best that they could to get within his sphere, to get these jobs, to derail the administration in an area where it's been a sore point for Americans for years? I'm just saying, was Trump set up with these 2 people? That's all I'm saying, because looking at what they've done since they've been in these positions, where before they were like, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and they have done nothing but make it worse. for this current administration who said, we're going to be transparent, we're going to get to the bottom of this, we're going to drain the swamp. And you've done nothing but be worse than the swamp. I'm just saying, allegedly, was this a setup? Were they more foe than friendly? I'm calling foe. I'm going to call it like it is, because that's what your actions speak to. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. Now, Tucker Carlson, in a recent video, a commentator, he challenged the FBI's public statements claiming he obtained social media posts and files purportedly tied to crooks, such as items from his Google Drive and YouTube that he argues show violent discourse. Carlson accused the Bureau of withholding information from Congress and the public. FBI Director Kash Patel rejected Carlson's allegations. Now, when someone outside of the FBI can aggregate more information than you can, and you're the FBI and you can get anybody's information, right? You can just cry Patriot Act and get anybody's information. Really? Like I said, this is a lot about who these people are. And are they going to go so scorched earth? Because, you don't get to be the FBI director forever. You can be fired. Okay? Because it's an appointment. It's not an elected position. It's an appointment. So you can get fired. Okay? So where do you go after you're done? Because right now, no one that trusted you before you went in is going to trust you when you leave. So I hope you got plans. I hope you got some real good investments in whatever island you plan to retire on. You're just going to be there and, sail off into the sunset, because no one's going to want to talk to you after you leave. So all that stuff that you built up, trying to be, such, yes, and we're going to help. Okay. Now, for context, in July 2024, crooks opened fire from a rooftop overlooking the Trump campaign. Yes, we know about all this. Okay. So it also said that the investigation, it's involved more than 480 personnel, 1,000 interviews, 2,000 public tips, and a seizure of 13 electronic devices. Right? So the New York Post first covered the story in an interview with Fox News. Right, the New York Post columnist Miranda Devine, who's right, detailed the findings and drew parallels between crooks and Charlie Kirk's alleged assassination. Tyler Robinson, who also reported to be part of the furry subculture Desert News, which is center focused on the assassination attempt and the FBI's efforts in the investigation, including claims that crooks' cremation following the assassination attempt seriously dampened progress in investigations. It also mentioned crooks and Robinson's involvement in the furry community. CBS News that leans left sharp clips of Representative Mike Kelly, a representative from Pennsylvania, saying the FBI stonewalled investigators. It highlighted crooks' shift in political ideology from being pro-Trump to being anti-Trump without mentioning the Furry Association. Honestly, I think the Furry Association is a distraction to get people emotionally riled up and look over here, look over here. It's like they cremated this dude before actually closing the case. It was like, nope, we found him, we're done. People were yelling saying, hey, this guy's on the roof. Is that the guy that was on the roof? Because, even with the Charlie Kirk's assassination, when I was like, this person that you've got does not look like the guy who could have carried this out. And now all of these questions are coming up when they were like, we got our dude. Did you really? Do you really? Do you really have your guy? Are you sure about that? Yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to get too much into this, but NVIDIA outperforms earnings predictions amid AI bubble fears. So NVIDIA is it's an AI chip, and a lot of our congressmen and women have invested in NVIDIA. So I would definitely check it out. I think it should still be under 300 per share. Let's check it out. NVIDIA. Yeah, look, it came up. NVIDIA stock price. Let's just see. Yeah, because there's a lot of our congressmen and women who are invested in this. I usually go to Yahoo Finance because it's easier to read. Oh, yeah, still under $200. So let's go to Yahoo Finance. Like I said, I like Yahoo Finance. It's a little bit easier to read. I'm not a super Yahoo person, but I like their layout. I should say that. Just waiting for it to come up. Thanks for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. But yeah, okay. So it's a 186.52 per share. So hey, if you got $200, get at least one share. Because here's the thing: what if it goes up to $2,000? Right? The money, it just keeps going up, and it keeps going up. All right. So very cool about NVIDIA. I like it. I like the fact that they are getting it. Okay. So, yeah, NVIDIA powers through as hog shrugs off bubble concerns. Yeah, they are talking about an AI bubble and will it explode? And guess what? There's always going to be ebbs and flows, rises and there's always going to be a bubble. But here's the thing. Are you going to be there at the right part of the bubble? Right? So let's just say you buy the stock. It bursts and it goes down to like $80 per share. I'd buy more. You're like, but it burst. It went down to $80 per share. Exactly. Because what's going to happen is the next time it goes up, it's going to be double what it is now. So right now it's at like 186. It'll be over 300 when that drop happens. So you can look at it now. You can buy now. You can wait. But buy it when it drops because it will drop. This is like Bitcoin. I was telling somebody else about Bitcoin. I was like, yeah, buy it when it drops. Come on. Buy it at the drop. Because when you buy it at the drop, it's always going to go back up. AI is not going anywhere. Okay. So you gotta be at the right part of the investment. This is not investment advice. This is just my own little prediction. I don't trade a lot, but I do invest. Okay. So the fears of a crash. When speaking of potential downfall of AI investments, the head of Google's parent firm Alphabet said, "I think no company is going to be immune, including us." He told the BBC, that's center bias, that the exuberant investments being made in AI are both rational and there are elements of irrationality through a moment like this, comparing the current boom of AI to the surge of investment in internet companies in the late 1990s. Some analysts worry this surge may collapse similarly to the dot-com bust in the early 2000s, according to the BBC. But this is what happened with that dot-com bust. They recovered. Yeah, they did. The tech boom, it was going. And that was during when former President Clinton was in office. And everybody was like, yeah, he was doing so great. And he did do well. They had our country at a great point. Social Security was solvent. It actually had an overage. Our medical, totally in place. Nothing was wrong. I mean, the economy did really, really well during that time. I don't think we were involved in any wars or anything like that. Then W came in. Yeah, that dude. We got into Afghanistan and Iraq. Okay. Mess with our money. And they said, oh, we have extra money in Social Security. Social Security has never been the same ever since. Okay. Our insurance has gotten worse. Our health insurance has gotten worse since. And that was under Republican leadership. I'm not calling out anybody. I'm just saying that's how it happened. That's how it went down. That's how that bubble that burst. But guess what? it recovered. AI is going to go through the same advent. It's going to get high and everybody's going to be like rushing in. It's going to burst. The bottom's not going to all the way fall out. Why? Because people have built infrastructures on AI. So it's going nowhere. It might be restructured. And I think it'll go through that restructuring to make sure that the general public is not able to utilize it and make the money off of it that they are now. And that happens with a lot of these technological efforts. And that happened with the tech boom. Anybody else a Google? How many other Googles are there out there? I mean, look, Microsoft was behind and they brought up Bing. Anybody using Bing? Anybody using Yahoo search? No, everybody uses Google predominantly. But see, they were there at the tech boom. They went through the fall and they came out on the other side. It is what it is. So all I'm saying is follow the patterns and invest wisely. But just know that they are trying to figure out a way so normal people like me, you, and others cannot benefit off of AI. They're really, in my opinion, they're trying to consolidate it so that we will be on the opposite end. And Freeman Chief says human prompts may be a niche humans can fill during this AI era. Yeah. Interesting. Human prompts. Yeah. I think so. Because even with the movies, they continue to try to create these AI movies. Like humans will still go to movies even if we make it without them. Really? Okay. Y'all need to figure out how you're going to keep people going to the movies because you can barely afford it. You can't, it's like it's over $100 to take like 4 people to the movies. And that's without food. Just saying. That's without food. So you can't get popcorn, you can't get nothing. You can't get anything. So what are we doing? What are we really, really doing? And what can be done? Right? I think we can do better. I think we need to wait out these tech moves. But I like that. The human prompts may be a niche humans can fill. And it is. Because right now with trades still needs humans. Robots can't do that work, which I'm glad for. Right? Even doing what I'm doing now, like some people, they make these like AI generated images of themselves talking and making videos. They're like, yeah, I can use my AI. And it's like, you know what? People still want a human touch. People still are going to want to see content like mine. It's like right now. Not that I want anything to shut off or fall apart. Because again, it's just me. But people that are human want to still interact with humans. You still want to go out to a nice restaurant and have a human waitress, not a robot. Because I've been in some restaurants where they have these little mobilized robots that bring food to your table. Yeah, it was an experience that I was just kind of like, I didn't like it. And I haven't been back to that restaurant since. Because I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not paying for this. I would much rather interact with humans. And that's what we have to get to. We have to take back our humanity and let the tech people know, hey, there were certain things that we are just not going to give up. And that's our humanity, right? Okay, I'm trying to, wow, okay. My layout doesn't want to change. Interesting. Okay, change layout. Oh, there we go. Yeah, technology. Like I said, it is what it is. And I work with it, not against it, but I don't want it to replace the human experience. And that's what we need to hold on to. So thank you so much for Freedman Chief Justice Reparations for bringing that up. And with that, we're going to end our Mighty Men Thursday. Tomorrow, we will have our Prayer with Fridays, where we will be praying in Thanksgiving and cover going into the weekend. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.